Hola, buenas tardes. Gracias por.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. For those of you who are here at Espacio Fundación Telefónica, which is hosting one of the activities of the Festival Cine por Mujeres, and also for those who are on streaming at home. This activity is peculiar because we are in collaboration with DocsBarcelona, specifically for the campus of DocsBarcelona, and this activity has the support of the Instituto de Cine and Artes Audiovisuales. So I'd like to thank Laura Kloeckner, representing DAE, Documentary Association Europe, then Chelo Álvarez-Stehle. She's a director and has been many years in the United States, and she's back in Barcelona. She will be presenting on impact production. And Joan Gonzàlez, director of DocsBarcelona. So we'll start with Laura, so that you can tell us what is DAE, what's its purpose, and why documentary producers could be interested in DAE, D-A-E.
Okay, I'm sorry to speak in English. Thanks everybody. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you, Diego. Thank you, Cine de Mujeres, for inviting me. I have a presentation. Yeah, perfect. So my name is Laura. I am a member and a consultant of the Documentary Association of Europe, or DAE as we call it. I wear many hats. I also am a producer for a production company in Berlin. I also work as a curator and researcher for an art space. But today I'm here to tell you a little bit about what the Documentary Association of Europe is and what we do. So basically, DAE is a members network. It acts and advocates for everyone working in the documentary film storytelling profession inside and outside of Europe. So basically, it's a network for documentary film professionals, but we don't care about the passport. So sometimes people ask us, so do you only cater to professionals from Europe? But that's not the case. So actually, we look at we welcome everyone who wants to or does work with the documentary film space in Europe. So DAE was founded at the Berlinale European Film Market in 2020. Here in the picture you see my wonderful colleague Bridget, which some of you might know, and also Juliana, who is also a founding member. And at the moment DAE, or since 2020, of course was difficult because of pandemic year, but we have now around 600 members in the association. And also these are members from the entire ecosystem of the documentary film field. So we have filmmakers, producers, directors, film students, but also we have associations, film festivals, markets, film schools. So really it's important for us to have everybody who works in the documentary film landscape as part of the network. And what do we do? So basically, DAE filled a void in the documentary film landscape in Europe to have or to found a platform where documentary film professionals can connect to each other. We have consultancies for members. We have different membership schemes. So we have several, reductions for film festival accreditation, so we offer special deals for you. There's actually quite an amount of funds that you can save if you go through DAE, for example, to a festival, to a market in Europe. But of course, also through this network that we have in Europe, we offer several consultations for you, catering or inviting the members that we have to help each other. And in addition, of course, and this is also important, DAE is a platform to advocate. So basically, it's a space where different professionals come together to also lobby for the documentary film industry within Europe. So, for example, last year when Creative Europe announced the new program for documentary between 2021 and 2027, DAE, together with 40 plus other associations in Europe, came together to write an open letter to Brussels to advocate for the documentary film landscape, because as we all know, we have to fight for our funding in Europe. So This is exactly. So here again, we have, in a nutshell, the membership services that we offer, year-round deals. We have exclusive resources and networking opportunities, and the lobby on the pan-European level. Also, even for non-members, we have pulled together an open source industry calendar. So basically, if you go on the day website, you don't have to be a member, it's open to anyone. You find a list of all the festivals internationally. Well, of course, it's not exclusive, but there's quite a lot of time and resources that was put into it, where you see the time, the deadlines, where the festival is taking place, the same for markets and also for professional training initiatives. So it's really an important resource for filmmakers, for producers that you can access. And also, we've done mappings, so mappings together with East and Central European documentary film projects and Western European markets. We try to build, we're 2 years old, but we're in the process of building also like a research and mapping tool so that we can collect data, so we have like a basis on which we can advocate on also. And of course, in addition, we have expert consultations. I will come to that in a second. And we're planning for next year to pull together, again, something that the EDN had, which is a financing guide for the documentary film industry. Fingers crossed that all of this will come through next year. So what we're doing already is 3 different schemes for expert consultations, because we want to, as I said, bring the different members that we have together to help each other. So for one, we have Off the Record, which is like a seminar series where Bridget, my colleague, together with other so-called decision makers and industry professionals, talk a little bit about behind the scenes. How do they select? How do they work? What kind of criteria do they use, so that filmmakers also, or producers, film professionals, also get an idea of what's actually happening behind the scenes and have the chance to ask questions. Ask Me Anything is another monthly format, which is a 20-minute walk-in consultation with my colleague Zainab Güzel, who's also a consultant, and you can basically ask her anything regarding your film, mainly regarding your projects. And so, yeah, basically that's that. And then the last one is also a monthly format, which is called the Story Room, which I facilitate once a month. And it's really nice. It's a cozy virtual space where filmmakers from the Day Network come together, filmmakers from across the world, to speak about their projects. So it was designed to have a space where filmmakers can discuss and talk about their projects without having any decision makers or industry professionals in the room before they go out into pitching forums or markets, to just have some group feedback on the struggles and challenges that they're dealing with. So that can be anything from, I don't know how to deal with my characters, where do I go for the next to get funding, how do I access markets, etc. So it's just a space to learn from each other and to connect to each other. And this has been really nice also because because it's virtual, we can connect globally on this platform. Okay, this we've done. Okay, so that's kind of in a nutshell what Day is doing at the moment. And Diego, when I asked him, like, what else can I talk about? He said, well, maybe it's interesting to hear a little bit more what's going on in the documentary scene, or how do markets invest. Okay, so I stop here, and then we get there later. Okay, thanks.
Tengo solamente una.
Well, I just have one question. Which is the financing guide you are preparing is like the commissioning editor's guide?
End guide, or like the sunny side of doc commissioning editor's guide?
It's something new that we're planning, so it's something that's hopefully coming around next year, and we really want to pull together all the resources that we can get, commissioning editors, of course, but also what other alternative ways of financing do we find in the industry, because it's evolving, so also we have to go with the time, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Joan, DAE
has been founded when EBM disappeared. EDM was the European Documentary Network, And Docs Barcelona was born under the umbrella of EDM. So can you tell us about Docs Barcelona for our audience? What's Docs Barcelona? It's many things, not only a festival. Well, the origin is a guy in Denmark that in the 1990s says why documentary in Southern Europe is not important, when Salazar had been dead for 20 years, Franco had been dead for 20 years, the regime in Greece was also gone, so there was a democratic environment but no documentaries. He made 4 workshops in southern Spain, Portugal, Spain, Italy and Greece, and the one in Granada was the origin for the second one to take place in Barcelona. So what's Docs Barcelona? Well, at the beginning, Docs Barcelona was tool for documentary culture, for building documentary culture by answering the next questions. How on earth our European colleagues are producing? So the focus is on producers, it's not directors. It was a professional meeting, and there we brought together about 150 people. This has evolved, and now Docs Barcelona now is many things. There's something important in May, which is the festival. This year was our 25th edition, and it has a part for viewers and a part for industry. On the part from industry, we have around 400 professionals from 40 countries that work in finding funding for these projects, doing networking, analyzing their films, and also working in the field of training for supporting filmmakers for 1 year with their projects, with new projects. So we are on new projects, on funding, we are on mounting, and then we show the films, the movies. Over these years, Docs Barcelona has taken 1,700,000 people to see documentaries, and it's about 300,000 viewers that we take yearly to see documentaries. Normally in May, which is the big party, but also every month since 15 years ago, we have small events where we premiere movies in 80 theaters. We are doing it in some places like foundations, universities, etc. So we thought we wanted to give the same experience, the same opportunity to the guys in the center of a city or to the people in the rural areas. So this is what Docs Barcelona is about. So we wanted to generate a documentary culture, promoting an industry, the creation of an industry. An industry means that people make money with their profession. So the different professions of filmmaking. And also we wanted to bring viewers to the screening theaters. Sometimes when someone asks me what am I proud about, mostly proud about, I say I'm mostly proud about that the documentary has jumped from the screen into society, and therefore a small or a big association, when they have something to say, to communicate, they think, why not make a documentary? So I think that's our great contribution to society, saying, okay, we have this tool, so let's use it for human communication. So later, Laura will give us an overview of the situation of documentary, but before I wanted to give the floor to Chelo so that she can speak about that, something that's pretty recent, that it was previously called in the United States grassroots funding, but grassroots distribution, now we call it impact. And it usually happens at the end of the process, of the creation, production process. And generally producers and directors say, well, I don't have any more funding for paying someone to take forward my impact campaign. There are companies like ThinkFil in UK that specialize in carrying out impact campaigns with the documentary Navalny, for example, and what's impact and how can we fund it?
Hola, encantada de estar aquí.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Diego. Thank you to the Women Film Festival. Thank you to all the speakers. What is impact, or what is the impact production? This is a new concept that is actually not new, but we can say that this term has just been created as a term. And impact, it's the degree of influence that a movie has in order to generate a transformative social change that is also sustainable. So, what is the impact production? It is about maximizing this potential of a given movie. How do we do this? Well, there's a big difference. You might wonder, you might say to create an impact is to create a campaign for giving visibility to documentaries with a Q&A and maybe some workshops around the documentaries in community areas. However, the first thing that we need to ask ourselves when we are developing a documentary that has a social content regarding human rights, women's rights, which is my target? And besides wanting as for our movie to have everyone as our target, the reality is that the target for our movie is the people who will feel motivated and inspired by your documentary, and not only say that they want other people to see it, but they also feel compelled to creating a club in their schools or to associate with other friends and to go out onto the streets to demonstrate or to participate as a volunteer in any organization or to change the laws if you are in the field of law or within the political environment. There are many ways of creating an impact. So you can create impact within a women's prison, or you can create impact at a parliamentary level, for instance, parliament level. So you need to determine which your target is. So the difference between what we used to call impact production and the traditional distribution of a movie, having a distributor selling your movie to different businesses, to a channel, etc., has to do with the type of the way we try to maximize the potential, the business potential of our movies. They need to help us sell it to the bigger number of TV channels, civil broadcasts, or bring it to many screens in a city or in a country, and to aim for a greater number of viewers. But they will also help you get the funding that you need for funding your documentary, or to help you fund a different or further funding. The traditional distributor is focused in transactional activities in order to obtain benefits for that particular movie within the documentary business, which is very good and very necessary. Now, the impact production is different because it's not transactional, it's transformative. And this is a key element. For instance, myself, I'm working as an impact producer for several movies, in particular several documentaries. And these impact campaigns need to be sustainable. Obviously, you're not going to do this for free. You can do this and also earn money. You can earn production rights. You can earn fees for all the people involved, so the movie makers, the protagonists, the producer, etc. And these will not be, obviously, as bigger rates as you may find in other areas of the sector, because this is not your main goal, but you will also collaborate with organizations, with, for instance, Amnesty International, and sometimes you will work with them and you will make it for a very low rate and sometimes even for free. But then you will have a campaign that will be very focused. For instance, 4 screenings will be made in a prison for free. But then we're going to move to town halls, and they have a lot of money, and this is a clue, a hint that I'm giving you, because they have all the resources to pay for these documentaries and for these movies. So there are certain hotspots, so to speak, for the money that you need to find as an impact producer, so that you can fund with these hotspots all the screenings that you will make for free.
To see how we include this concept of impact, we'll go back to the general overview, and I'll ask Laura to give us an overview that she's prepared.
Okay, thank you very much. I will go back to the presentation if possible.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I labeled it How to Keep Sane While Navigating the Documentary Film Landscape. How many filmmakers are in the room here? Okay, so quite a lot. So also, happy to learn from your experience also, or feel free to interrupt at any time, of course. So basically, when thinking about the documentary landscape and also about how to go about markets and festivals, of course there's different types, right? There's workshops and labs, there's pitching, co-production markets, there's different funding schemes depending on where in the process or what stage you are in: development, production, post-production, distribution, impact, and of course works in progress platforms. Why do these markets and pitchings exist? Because basically to make sure that you find the best way to finance your film, and also for decision makers to find the projects. Each market, like each training, is idiosyncratic, so has its own strengths, its own topics, etc. So use them and create. Basically, the idea is also for you to use these markets to create a community around your project. So here I made a non-inclusive overview of some markets and film festivals that exist in Europe. The big ones, of course, IDFA, Doc Leipzig, Docs-Barcelona, Thessaloniki in Greece, East Doc Platform, Sunny Side of the Doc, and so on. And then, of course, the question, which market is right for me, right? Because how do you navigate this landscape? But the first question is, what stage of the project are you in? Development, production, and you have to do the research, but also ask your network. So actually ask the people, or look up, research the projects that the markets have funded already, try to see what they're interested in, and ask your network. Also, of course, understand the different categories that these markets use to collect, but also see on a local level who is interested in what you're talking about before you look at those big platforms and the big markets internationally. Maybe that's not the right place for your film, so you can always see. That's why it's great to have such a big landscape, and it doesn't always have to be an A-list festival or market. It can also be something smaller, and I think the impact goes into a similar direction, and that's also very interesting. Of course, also don't be disheartened if your project is not selected because of these criteria that different festivals have. And these criteria are there also for them to limit what they can do. They only have a specific capacity. But what I think is the most important is to understand that this is an ecosystem, right? So the markets, they don't exist if they don't have your projects. So I think that's the most important thing, is to, and I quote my colleague Bridget here, is to create FOMO, so the fear of missing out. So you want to show that your project is unique, that you know what you want to do and what your access and positionality is, which is something that's very important in documentary film and is gaining importance. So you want to make sure that they understand that as well. And of course, why you need that market. But I think this idea of creating FOMO is really important, so you want to make sure that they want to jump on your project. So just in a nutshell, I think the most important, and here we come in obviously as the network and also as a place for coming together and sharing, is that you create a community around your film. So even if the first market doesn't work, go to the next market. Even if that one wasn't successful, at least you had your film out there, and it's a first space for people to hear about your film. Go on, and it's really about creating a community that can elevate your film. Ask others, speak to each other, share, and yes, do the best that you can do for your film. And here I tried to compile a couple of specific women, or as women identifying filmmakers, funding schemes, festivals, or funds. Of course, this is not exclusive at all. Yeah, I mean, you can actually find all of these resources, as I said, on the DAY website, in these financing, in these festival listings and the calendars that we have there. But there's a lot out there, and as I said, I think this overview shows that actually there's a lot of possibilities. It's just about finding what makes sense for your film. That's it. Actually, and also just to say, there's great podcasts, Doc Leipzig Industry Podcast, for example, or What's Up with Docs podcast, and also several studies. So just around this question, what's up in documentary, I think there's good resources out there.
Joan, ante tanta
Joan, with so many markets, we know how festivals work. What are the needs for a film from one country to be seen in a festival by other audiences, and also to show movies from other countries? But for markets, for pitching, there are so many. So why DocsBarcelona is more appealing or more interesting? How is DocsBarcelona different? How could we pitch DocsBarcelona for a picture? Well, I could give you many different answers here. Well, as I've said, we are in the whole chain and the whole life cycle. From the beginning, from an idea, we have to support it, to help it grow and to develop, and then the directors, they have crises and they have the opportunity to grow their project, so we accompany them. And also the support of rough cut, so the opportunity to screen it for people of the industry, and you can convince them to become your salespeople. So it's a mix between creativity and market, and then also tradition and experience. Our figures tell us that basically between 2 and 3 years, over 50% are produced, and 35% are alive, and 25% are dead, of those who were presented to the market, of those who were pitched. We don't have quotas now, so it's open and international now. And this might sound weird, but the city of Barcelona is also an appealing element for DocsBarcelona. We have seen that both pitchers and conditionators want to come to Barcelona, and we try to leverage on this. And also the effectiveness. When you see this is a space that can help you, or that is going to help you, because when you bring together one that has a project and one that has funding, then good luck and see what happens. But according to our experience, we see that there's a high percentage that projects that get to DocsBarcelona, they have to go through 2 filters, 2 committees. These are powerful projects, and then the commission editors that come, or the funders, they want to meet with these projects because they know the quality is high. So I'd say that's the main reason.
Chelo, volviendo.
Chelo, going back to impact, the concept of impact, when should we start thinking of impact? When should we contemplate this concept? When we have the idea and we are developing it, or when the movie has been finished?
I will answer your question, but allow me to say something that I am a member of the DAE, so thank you very much for being there. And regarding my projects, I have had my projects in DocsBarcelona a couple of times, but I would like to say, I didn't say this before, and I think it is relevant, that once you are developing your project, so to speak, that's the best moment of start thinking what will be your impact. You need to think about that when you're writing the script and when you're dealing with how you will approach your documentary. At that point, you need to start creating alliances. To establish alliances is key for the impact production. Alliances means with the NGOs that are close to your cause, with whether they are local or regional or international. You can also talk to lawyers, associations. It depends on the goal or the topic of your documentary. You need to find these alliances in order to incorporate them very soon in your project, so that they create also a community around your project. I have done this every time, for instance, when I had this working project screening, we collected more funding. So we collected funds and we invited many NGOs. We invited them to place a table where they could put all their brochures, and they also could intervene as speakers. And then you start creating these alliances step by step. This is important because these partners, these allies, accompany you throughout the whole life cycle. When you're about to screen, to do the premiere of your documentary, you have to invite them, obviously, and you have to keep them up, you have to keep their interest, and you have to keep them informed about the progress of the project. All these partners will bring their own audience with them, and they will help you create all this screening outside the main cinema theaters. This is very important. So I would say start very early on. Now I'm running several impact production projects going on. Some of them are about to be released into the market, or some are already there. And I have been called 2 years after the premiere, but it's never too late, because if you have a good social cause with your documentary, those causes will never die, and we will need to keep fighting for them. So it's never late, but the sooner you start creating these campaigns, the better, because the greater the impact will be. Also, you need to take into account that when you get to the post-production phase and you've been selected to a certain market, documentary market, and you're thinking about a sales agent or a distributor, for instance, then you need to remember always the impact. You need to always keep the rights for your websites. It's very important to self-distribute your documentary from your website, even if you release a certain amount of rights, but always keep the rights for community screenings, semi-theatrical as they call them. All these rights, you need to keep them with you in the contract that you sign up with your distributor, because distributors are also aiming for this share of the contract. But the person who will be in charge of your impact distribution needs to have a passion, needs to feel passion for that cause and for human rights as well. It cannot be a person who only comes from the distribution industry, who will only focus in the numbers. They need to have this perspective that allows them to think how we can reach a certain area or how we can run this campaign. And I will cite a couple of examples. I'm working on a documentary called From Here. It's called about activism, creative activisms, and what belonging means. And it was shot in New York and Berlin. With this documentary, at the moment, what we are seeing is that one of the characters is Miman. He is a gypsy, as we call them in Spain, and this person sees his story on the screen, and he thinks we need to do something. So he meets up with the director and with other people, and he says we need to do something here in Germany, because he is not a citizen yet from Germany. He has come from Macedonia, and then when he gathers us all together, the whole team decides to launch a campaign so that people who have been born in Germany have a right to citizenship and to voting. And this campaign is about to be launched in Germany. All this is done together with the movie that we are screening, and also with the screening with many associations that have participated in funding this campaign, with NGOs, with members of parliament who are also invited to the shows of this movie in Germany. Another example that I wanted to talk about is something that we just started very recently. We have got together with the organization Lleida per les Refugiats, Lleida for refugees, as you can understand, and the NGO's coordinator in that region of Spain, also the town hall of the city, and we showed this movie with a crowded house in the city, and we got together with another campaign that is called regularization immediately. This is to legalize the situation of many foreigners who are at the moment have an illegal status in Spain. And now this was a specific campaign, but we are spreading this, and we are planning to organize other events around Spain. We don't have much time now until the signatures are gathered to pass a law at a parliament level.
Today in the morning we had someone that told us that music festivals worked very good, and now within the production of documentaries we have the possibility of impact. I think also that we have a movement of scholars in the US that say documentaries can change the world, and they have pushed in this direction. I understand this could be useful, I'm not sure, but here is Chelo to show me that this is true. But I'd like Laura to tell the public what possibilities exist to be a member of DAI. What's the fee? The member fee is the same for a producer, for a producing company or a filmmaker. So tell us about it.
Okay, so we have several member schemes. You can be an individual. There's a fee of, I think, 100 euros a year, but there's also a reduced fee for depending on what context you come from, what's your background. We also accept students, so we have discounts. And then we have, of course, like bigger companies or festivals who come on board. This is then a different price. So I think generally it makes sense to, for one, reach out to us. Like if you're interested in becoming a member, you can always talk to us. We can see. You can also approach me or my colleagues. We're running around several festivals also to see like what you can get out of it. Also, if you feel like again, talk to us. If you want to try it, we also sometimes offer, like a monthly tryout, and then you can see if it's for you or not. I think there's flexible things, but we have a certain rate that you can see on the website.
Hay asociaciones nacionales.
There are national associations that are members of DAI. See.
Not just in Europe, actually, also on the African continent, for example, or in the Arab region. So I had a slide with all the associations that are part of Day 2, but I think I wasn't sure if it's necessary for this context.
DOCMA, que es la asociación española.
DOCMA is the Spanish Association of Documentaries, is also a member of there. And DocsBarcelona, of course, is also part of that.
Now, before we finish, because we have lots of information, are there any questions from the audience relating to any of the topics that we've heard here? Yes. Wait, you will give you a mic. I wanted to ask you, you said that you have worked with Lleida pels Refugiats, and when you approach an NGO or a foundation with a project to ask for funding, how's the conversation?
Que no te hace...
Well, I would like to say that you don't approach NGOs to ask them for funding. They usually do not have this money. Sometimes they do and they're ready to share, but that would not be the main goal of getting partnership with getting a partnership with an NGO. It's only a way of supporting the cause that you are displaying, and they're key because they can really they can open many impact opportunities. For instance, I approached Lleida pels Refugiats, and they put me in contact with the campaign for the regularization of foreigners. They work in their specific field, and as a documentary maker, you have a certain access to that world, but they are the open door for you to all the world of the NGOs who are working about or around this cause, and then you can participate and start receiving those newsletters, and this will help you when you start touching this universe. As a producer, you also have to look for the business opportunities in order to create documentary films or fiction films. But as a documentary maker, since you have it in your hands a social project, you need to know all the social tissue, and the funding might come. For instance, I will reveal this, how it went in this case. Lleida pels Refugiats has a good contact, has a good relationship with the with the city hall, and they managed to fund part of the project. They brought people from Germany. So it's true that the NGOs can bring you information through the contacts that they already have, and this is another way of funding your campaign through the contacts that your allies have. But it is good to create partnerships that are cooperations in the long run, so that you can really feed this relationship, so that you can invite them, for instance, to see your documentary when it's still in the cooking, so to speak, to ask them, am I really representing well the situation of immigrants? Am I using them? What could I do to increase the respect that they feel for us? Also ask them about ethical issues. There are many things that can really inform your documentary in the end.
Por tanto,
Therefore, what you're saying is that we should see how what you have depicted, that has several features, see how you have made the movie, how this work of art that we call documentary, that's portraying something, can contribute to what I have portrayed, should trigger a change. Just to give you an example, for example, if I'm presenting a story on someone that's migrating from Andalusia, maybe we should work with organization of the empty rural parts of Spain to generate awareness, to raise awareness, in order to create some interest instead of looking for funding.
You have to do the two things at the same time.
como el documento.
Yes, but what I mean is how the documentary can specifically help to change a situation that I have portrayed.
in the process, it can actually help you gather funding, because there might be local politicians, for instance, that they might be interested because they're interested in improving the situation to fight the empty villages, and they might think, well, we do not have much money, but let us give you some money for your project. I've seen this, so it means to find funding in alternative places, because getting the funding is very difficult. You need to follow that traditional path, but also you need to follow more innovative paths, and sometimes you can even find a millionaire. And I do know people in NGOs that tell me that they know somebody who has earned a lot of money in the stock market, and he's giving us all this money. He has funded our little crowdfunding, and what I mean is that we need to really knock on every single door. You need to be creative and find anything even under the stones. Lift every stone to find the funding, because I do believe that the universe will answer your prayers, so to speak, if you really keep insisting and you really keep working on it, because when people feel that you're enthusiastic about something, they will support you.
Just wanted to add that I think this is super important, because also the funding landscape is changing so much. So we have to, I think, whether you see your project as an impact project or not, I think it's important to think of these strategies in any case. I saw a panel at Doc Leipzig last week about financing and documentary, and they started to talk about the traditional way of financing, and then at some point realized actually there is no traditional way of financing for documentaries, because you always have to find strategies, see where your project fits, and find, as you said, like a creative way of dealing with it. So I think the work is super, super important.
Thank you.
¿Alguna otra pregunta entre?
Any more questions? I think we've got one there.
One question: what would be the order, the sequence? So you start working from the development, and then you have this campaign. You launch it with the release of the film? No, as I said before, ideally start wherever you are right now in your project. But if you're going to start a new project, start from the very development. Start establishing these alliances as you move forward. Invite people to be part of the project so that they feel that they have come to see a work in progress that lasts 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or maybe you have a short film of 20 minutes and you ask them, I need your feedback, I need your opinions, and then you create these alliances. For now, I'm working at the moment with people that released this film during the pandemic 2 years ago. Obviously, nowadays we are screening this in movie theaters more, or in public places more, but they had run an impact campaign that had lasted 2 years. They have created impact material. They have made extraordinary timelines of immigration in Germany and the United States. Even nowadays, some institutions in Spain are considering funding this timeline of immigration between Spain and Latin America. It doesn't exist at the moment, and through this project, this institution that is studying migration is considering funding it. And this project, they started it by doing very short interviews to people that came from different people, immigrants that had different types of problems. They created workshops, and they did an incredible job. And after all this 10 years, they release this movie, and I will pass it to you just in case you are interested, at DocsBarcelona. And they create this movie, 90 minutes, an incredible film, and they're gathering all the fruits of all that hard work, and we're still working on the impact campaign. It's a very inspiring project.
Rando?
We'll close. I wanted to ask Laura whether there's a clear line of dive which is thought in helping to fund projects to make movies, Well, this is good. This support is great. But my question is, are you contemplating working in what some years ago there was a documentary conference in Munich? So are we going to that reflection? And also in data, information based on data, and reports on the situation of documentary. I don't know if it should be in Europe, which is the framework, meaning that in addition to contributing to incorporate new agents to give tools to young professionals, whether information and data would be a part of your line of work.
Okay, I hope I understood it correctly. But I think you raise a very relevant point, and I think what there are several ideas that DAY has on how to continue in the future, and definitely, as I said before, one strand of this is to collect data, to use the resources, and also to fund research in that direction. Also, at the same time, I think it's important to see a network as what it is, which is not necessarily a centralized body that decides what is need to be done, but also that the members who are in the network, who are all professionals and all have a stake in this industry, also voice what they need, what they want to do, and also take on the ownership of going with it. So I think as much as the body of let's say, the administration at the moment can say we look at this, we look at that. We have an advisory board with several heads sitting there to see where can we steer in the future. But also I think it's about every member also to say and take responsibility in that regard. But definitely this is among the one of the pillars that we're about to set up. But of course you need financing for it as well, right? So we're in the process of finding yeah.
Okay.
Muy bien, pues dada la hora.
Well, very well. I think we should wrap it up. Thanks a lot. You have here at DocsBarcelona, if you want to show your finished movie, then for Impact Production, you have Chelo and DAY, an association that can represent all of you if you are members. Thanks a lot.
Foto de familia.